Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijagaracharya Astatar Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi. Premanandi, can you select a special verse for Thursday morning? Just in anticipation of Ram Navami, can you select a verse for Thursday morning? Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're discussing verse number 6, is that right? Yes. So Tamradekam Vapusha Grasantam Drishtvasunabho. Should we just stop and go back again? Third chapter, 336. 336. We'll start again. So Tamradekam Vapusha Prasantam Vishvas Sunabhon Matitam Dharityam Amantritas Tat Tanayaya Shesham Dadvatad Anantad Antapuram Avishesha Sutamradekam Vapusha Prasantam Vishvasunabhon Matitam Daritriya Amantritas Tat Tanayaya Shesham Tatvatad Antapuram Avishesha
Sudamridekam vapusha Tamridekam vapusha grasantam Vishvasunabhon Matitam Dharitya Mantritastat Tanayaya Shesham Vatadanta Purma Vishesha Sutamrudekam vapusha grasantam Vishvasunabhon Matitam Dharitya Mantritastat Tanayaya Shesham Vatadanta Brahmadi Ekshesham
Ready?
Tamridekam vapusha grasantam Vishvasunabhon Matitam Dharitya Mantritastat Tanayaya Shesham Vatadanta Brahmavivesha सुतं वदेकं वपुषादसन्तं
सुतं विवेकं वपुषादसन्तं
दृष्ट्वा धरित्र्या
दृष्ट्वा सुनामो
आमन्त्रितस्तत्तनयाय शेषम्
आमन्त्रितं
समृदेकं वपुषा विश्वासनामो नन्दरित्र्या आमन्त्रितस्तत्तनयाय शेषम्
Sotam, sun, Ridhe, in the fight. Kam, the sky. Vapusha, by his body. Grasantam, while devouring. Drishtva, seeing. Sunabha, by the Sudarshan wheel. Anmatitam, killed. Duritriya, by the earth. Amanchitaha, being prayed for. Tat Tanayaya, to the son of Narakasura. Shesham, that which was taken from. Dattva, returned it. Tat, his. Anta Puram, inside the house. Avishesha, entered. Translation: Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to the son of Narakasura, and thus the Lord entered the house of the demon. Purport: it is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Dharitri, the earth, by the Lord himself. But he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon, and it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness, unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. And the next verse also discusses the same Narakasura. I'm going to read the translation and purport for text 7. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert. Upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed, they looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. Purport: Narakasura kidnapped many daughters of great kings and kept them imprisoned in his palace. But when he was killed by the Lord, and the Lord entered the house of the demon, all the princesses were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives, because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. Unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance of being married, because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. According to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of the husband. Since these princesses had already been taken away from the custody of their fathers, it would have been difficult for them to have any husband other than the Lord himself. Although Uddhava did not have association with Krishna until Krishna went to Mathura, it appears that he had a very clear understanding of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, because this section is Uddhava reciting to Vidura in simple way, kind of a serial way, pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, then pastimes of Krishna out of Vrindavan, which he had direct experience of. But because of his love for Krishna and apparently some association with persons who knew in detail of his pastimes in Vrindavan, he is remembering them and in a simple way reciting them. Not just reciting them. He is, we heard, he is in a mood of ecstatic love. So much so he went into trance. And he came out of that trance simply because of his regard for Vidura and his wish to serve him by responding to his questions. But he gives much more than just a quick question. He's giving 2 chapters of Krishna Katha, Krishna Lila, Hari Katha, Bhagavad Katha. Now this is coming in chapter 3. Now we often hear, in order to understand Krishna's pastimes found in the 10th canto, and this is 3rd canto, hearing about pastimes that are in detail described in the 10th canto, one needs to successively, sequentially go through the first 9 cantos before entering into the 10th canto. But look at this, here it is in canto 3. And even in canto 1, there are descriptions of Krishna's pastimes with Mother Yasoda, that Kunti is bewildered by, and so forth. Bhishma Dev speaks of the exalted position of the residents of Vrindavan, and in particular the gopis, and he's grandfather Bhishma. So there's hints and there's glimmers of 10th canto, even in the earlier cantos. However, to understand any of this, one needs proper understanding of the relationship between Krishna and Krishnas. And Krishna and Krishna's external energy takes in the beginning stages, may take precedence, at least to understand in principle. For example, for some of us, hearing Lord Kapila's teachings in Sankhya philosophy, aside from its difficulty in understanding how this puzzle part fits together with that puzzle part, fits together with the rest of the puzzle, it's difficult to understand how the energies of Krishna are working in combination with other energies of Krishna. And aside from it's difficult to understand, it may be a little dry to some. It may seem like I'm not interested. It's too philosophical. It's like eating sawdust, no thank you. So why is it there? And why is it important? And so both questions. It's there because it's important. Why is it important? It doesn't mean we can't go back to Godhead if you don't understand Sankhya philosophy. No, it's not that you can't go back to Godhead if you don't understand Sankhya philosophy. However, it's like someone raised a question in the Chinese class. If I can understand Bhagavad Gita, why is it necessary to read Srimad Bhagavatam? No, it's not necessary. But if you have understood Bhagavad Gita nicely, then naturally you're going to want to hear more and hear more and hear more. And then the puzzle pieces start to fit together because the essence of the big picture of Krishna as the source of everything becomes possible. For example, was two things. One reporter asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, could you tell us, have you seen God? Prabhupada, if I told you, would you believe me? Reporter, oh yes. Prabhupada, not only I have seen God, but I'm seeing Him at all times. Now, do you believe me? Now, and then what does that mean, to see God at all times? And a lot depends on the bhakti of that person. But one of the ways, not the only way, to understand seeing Krishna always is to see Krishna's energies. Like, very simple explanation. I really like how Prabhupada keeps things really simple. Whenever you see the sun light, it means you're seeing the sun. Now, then, supposing it's dawn and you can't exactly see the sun because the sun hasn't risen yet, but it's dawn. But we know the sun is coming, and shortly you'll see the sun directly. So similarly, as seeing the sun light means seeing the sun, or seeing the sun, say it the other way, seeing the sun means seeing sunlight. Seeing the sun means seeing sunlight. Similarly, seeing Krishna means seeing Krishna's energies. We don't think the sunlight, when we see the sun, it's the sunlight is separate. The sunlight is not separate. So seeing the sunlight is the byproduct of seeing Krishna. So if Krishna discloses the fact, I am this, I am that, I am the other thing, I am the light of the sun and the moon, I am the prowess of all powerful men, etc. That's seeing Krishna always. So Prabhupada's explanation, when the devotee sees the sky, he sees Krishna. Now, there may be other meanings of seeing Krishna. Besides, you see the sky, you see Krishna. Or you see the light of the sun and the moon and you see Krishna. Because the energies are inextricably connected to the energetic. So seeing the energy is implied. If you're Krishna conscious, then you see Krishna everywhere. Then there's more advanced stages and more advanced stages and more advanced stages. Pashyanti yam yoginaha. The yogi sees, at least the accomplished yogi can see supersoul. And not only see supersoul within himself, but see supersoul everywhere. That must be a pretty amazing experience. So aside from seeing Krishna present everywhere through his energies, they're seeing Krishna present everywhere through his manifestation of Paramatma, who is everywhere, literally everywhere. And then there's the more advanced stage of seeing Krishna everywhere, and that's those who are attached to Krishna in his other feature, in his Bhagavan feature. And then there's degrees of attachment to Krishna in his Bhagavan feature, depending upon the place and the mood. So there's so many nice paintings of, in their feelings of separation, the gopis are seeing Krishna. They're enacting Krishna's pastimes. They're with Krishna, although he's not present. Through intense feelings of love, they see Krishna everywhere. At the same time, they're seeing Krishna everywhere. They're feeling separation from the same Krishna they see everywhere. It's quite amazing. So, back to the point of before trying to understand the pastimes of Krishna described in the 10th canto, one should go through the first 9 cantos, because it gives the foundation of Sambandha Gyan. What's what? How's everything connected to Krishna? But here we are in 3rd canto, and we're hearing what's described in the 10th canto. Same point, just repeating it. So why is it here? How are we able to understand it? Well, we're not going to understand it fully, but something we can understand is that Uddhava is a very elevated Vaishnava. He's not just remembering, but he's experiencing love in the remembrance of Krishna and in the narration of Krishna's pastimes. So we may not be experiencing the same love that Uddhava is experiencing, but it's the sound vibration is meant or has the potency of reviving what we've forgotten. And what we've forgotten is our relationship with Krishna. And here is one of those leelas of Krishna that helps us appreciate he who is the source of everything, matter and spirit. When he appears, he has these quite amazing pastimes. Now, this is a pastime out of Vrindavan. It's a pastime when Krishna was already married to many queens, and he was approached by Indra, help, please get back the earrings of my mother, Aditi, because they were stolen by this fellow, Narakasura. There's not reference at that point that I'm familiar with that Indra knew that Narakasura was Krishna's son. He just knew that Narakasura took Aditi. He was a very powerful person. He could travel to the heavenly planets, and he had battle, and he took Aditi's earrings. They must have been pretty valuable earrings, and many other things. So Krishna, wanting to oblige his devotee, I mean, Indra sometimes messes up, but he's also a very dear devotee of Krishna. And so Krishna agreed. We shouldn't be asking Krishna to get back your mother's earrings, in case something like that might come up, but Indra was a little bold. And Krishna agreed, so he took Satyabhama, because she liked adventure. And he had his confrontation with Narakasura. Now, I can't remember. Does anybody in the room remember this reference to Narakasura trying to capture the sky? Narakasura, the son of Daritri, tried to grasp the whole sky. Anybody remember that portion of the pastime? See if you can find it somewhere. And report back to you if I can find it somewhere. Maybe the detail is described in someplace other than Srimad Bhagavatam, because other Puranas give details about pastimes of Krishna and Krishna's devotees that are not explicitly expressed in the Bhagavatam, and our acharyas selectively accept some of them. Here the verse is saying specifically, it's because he tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. Well, he was killed by the Lord in a fight because he wanted Aditi's earrings, and he had stolen them. And of course, there was the other purpose. He had kidnapped many princesses, and he wanted to not have them in such distress. There's a detail. Rupa Goswami writes that it's not the way the Prabhupada is written here in the purport. The way it's written here in the purport is he actually kidnapped 16,100 princesses. He was a busy guy. 16,100 princesses. To kidnap one is a business, what to speak of 16,100. But he kidnapped them from kings. Rupa Goswami says that was a story that he fabricated. And the fact is, according to Rupa Goswami, he went to Vrindavan and kidnapped many gopis and made this fabricated story that they were princesses. They were gopis that wanted to marry Krishna, and they got to marry Krishna, so Krishna is omniscient and he knew. This is a made-up story. They're actually gopis that want to marry me. And so he was obliging them. Anyway, different explanations from different angles of vision, and that's just fine. Provided we come from authoritative sources, it's just fine. And so he did battle with Narakasura, and he killed him. Now, when one king or one Kshatriya, because Krishna wasn't the king of Dwarka, he was a Kshatriya in Dwarka. When one Kshatriya kills a king, then the kingdom becomes his. So the mother of Narakasura, Dhritri, she came forward and she said many things to Krishna in supplication. She offered all the things that he had stolen, including the earrings. But she wanted that the son of Narakasura be not bereft of a kingdom. So Krishna wasn't interested in taking his kingdom. He was happy to have him become the successor king. And then he proceeded to enter the house, which means palace, not just like a modern house, palace of Narakasura, and the princesses or the ladies who he had kidnapped were jubilant. And they offered their prayers. Krishna accepted their prayers. And by transcendental arrangement, he managed to transport them to Dwaraka, had palaces built for each of them, and live with each of them. A pretty wholesale marriage. 16,000. In the chapter in the Bhagavatam, in the beginning it says 16,000, and then later it says 16,100. It was 16,100. The 16,000 was just a round number. We don't want to belittle the other 100. And there's a nice section. It comes later in the Bhagavatam, after this Krishna's relieving them. There's the event where there's a solar eclipse. And so all the residents of Vrindavan, including all the queens and their 10 sons and their 10 grandsons of each one, the whole big shebang, they go in procession, guarded by military, etc., to go to Kurukshetra, because that's an auspicious place to observe a solar eclipse. And they did their rituals and so forth. And then Draupadi takes the opportunity to meet with them. It's like a big happy reunion because Draupadi is a celebrated personality, and the queens are certainly celebrated personalities. So she requests, tell your story. How did you get married to Krishna? You know, natural question. So that they tell their story in a simple way. It's like a repeat of what was in earlier chapters. And then there's one of those 16,100 queens that takes the position of being the representative of the others and describes in a little cameo narration how that happened. It's much longer than some of the other queens and what they say. But so amongst these 16,100, there's one who took the position, at least in Kurukshetra, as being the representative of all of them. Now, it's very fascinating pastimes. And so materialists go different things. Mythology, or just see how lusty is Krishna. And some people don't mind making offenses. Prabhupada, in one lecture in Bombay, was saying he had that morning, it was an evening lecture, that morning he had read some of Gandhi's, the transcriptions of Gandhi's lectures on Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada took the time to read some of them. And he was repeating some of the things that Gandhi had said. And one of the things that Gandhi said was, Krishna is fiction, and I can imagine him to be whatever I want. That was in his public discourse on Bhagavad Gita. Now, Prabhupada didn't by name blast Gandhi, but he said, then he started speaking about the principle of taking Krishna's position to be fiction, because people can't handle it. Especially Gandhi couldn't handle it, obviously. He's advocating nonviolence from Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna is inducing Arjuna to do violence, in for a purpose, not wanton or indiscriminate. So that didn't rub well with Gandhi's nonviolent theology. So you have to interpret, and once you start interpreting, where's the limit? You've got a license to interpret. You can go anywhere. So we don't take these pastimes as mythology, or Krishna's lusty, or he's bad, or something like that. He's an ordinary person. So if he can do these things, then I can do these things too. And all those ways of misinterpreting. So it's really easy to take something that's true and twist it. And then it's not recognizable anymore, and it can be abused. Something that's pure in the hands of somebody whose heart is impure can make a mess. And that happens a lot. In so many, many, many different ways it happens. So we have to be circumspect, and starting with from whom do we hear, etc. So just one more point from the purport. Apparently, with these chronologically, Banasura and Narakasura were contemporaries because they associated with one another. And through bad association with Banasura, Narakasura, who was Krishna's son and Mother Earth's son, became corrupted by bad association. I'm unfamiliar with any of the details of what that association was like, other than just the mention. Maybe it's in one of the Puranas or something. But bad association. So someone good can become bad. And therefore, for example, parents are very naturally concerned about who their children associate with, especially bad association. Bad association. Now, what to do with the fact that in the world there's lots of bad people, and one answer is you don't have children. But if you do have children, and there's bad association out there, what do you do? How are you to protect your children from bad association? You can't like micromanage their lives. That's not going to be very welcome by anybody to have their life micromanaged. It has bad results, so don't try it. So what do you do? So you pass on. Essentially, you pass on bhakti, and when bhakti is there, then there's the power of discrimination between wholesome and unwholesome, between good association, bad association. But even a good person can become bad. Even a good child can become bad through bad association. And therefore, lessons of how to maintain your moral compass, or the proper conduct compass, or your bhakti life, how to maintain the bhakti life in different circumstances that life presents itself unto you or unto your dependents or and anybody. Their choices, and making the proper choices is very important, particularly the choice of what's your association going to be. And curiosity, there's a saying, I don't know if it's how popular it is, curiosity killed the cat. Heard that one? So children or adults might become curious. Like, what's on the other side of that door over there? It says, it's calling crossbones and says, do not enter. And what's on the other side of that door over there? And especially if it's popular. And we don't go into it too much, but there are things that are popular these days that are toxic, like cell phones. Now, they're useful, but they can also be very easily toxic. And one can get access to the world of toxicity in the tap of a finger and be surprised or become attracted. Or, bad association is accessible in too many ways. So don't micromanage your dependents, but help them have an understanding of what's life meant for, what's virtuous life, and why virtuous life is meaningful. And more than virtuous life, like don't steal, don't tell lies, don't hit your sibling, and things like that. Aside from do nots, what's the do's? And then, so awakening bhakti life in people of this world is the best gift, not just your children, but the world, because your children associate with the world and the world associates with your children. So propagate Krishna consciousness. That's the method of spiritual elevation. So that's one of the reasons why we're meeting Uddhava in the third canto, and Uddhava is speaking about Krishna in the third canto. And it just drops. It's not the whole ocean yet, but it's very attractive. Krishna's all attractive. He does various things in various ways, in all attractive ways. And appreciating Krishna's position is Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's see if there's some discussion. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I have three questions, if that is okay. The first one is so recently we heard about the Banasura,
Yes.
and here we are talking about Narakasura also. Both are contemporaries. And what I understood is because of Lord Shiva's compassion on Banasura, Krishna has shown that mercy by leaving him four-handed. Now here in Narakasura story that Krishna has killed him. So I'm trying to understand, even in different incarnations, how Ravana killed, Hiranyakashipu killed. So I was thinking how can we understand Lord mercy by someone killing him and leaving somebody else?
It's a mystery, isn't it? Well, one simple explanation, there's probably many. Bana was a very ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva gave his mercy to Bana. And because the mercy of Lord Shiva to Bana resulted in how Bana was dealt with differently. Now, Bana's relationship with Lord Shiva was mixed. It was, we heard, very clearly devoted, at the same time, proud like anything. So much so that he wanted to fight Lord Shiva because he couldn't find anyone to be satisfied with his fighting propensity. So would you fight me, please? He got Lord Shiva's mercy. Because he got Lord Shiva's mercy, he was the recipient of Krishna's mercy.
So just with Ravana also isn't the same thing, like Lord Shiva gave that? What were the powers to
The answer to that one, Parvati, Lord Shiva says to Parvati, he's calling you. He's your devotee. Do something. Why are you doing something? It's like not nagging, just like because he's inimical to Lord Ramachandra. And I can't take the side of my devotee who's inimical to one who I'm devoted to. It's like the nice pastime of Saraswati not giving protection or, taking away the empowerment that she had given to, was the traveling Digvijay Pandit that traveled to Navadvip and wanted to engage in debate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Keshava Kashmiri. Remember that pastime? So Lord Saraswati said to Keshava Kashmiri, I'm not going to go against my own master. You run into the wrong. So,
Thank you. The second one is about the 16,000 queens or 16,100 queens. So in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada briefly explains that the gopis are the sages of the Dandakaranya who want to embrace Lord Ramchandra. So
there's
they
a group of gopis that are in that category.
Yeah, that is gopis. So wives. So in their previous lives, these queens must be someone I forgot.
Not necessarily.
No.
The gopis are many, and one portion of those many are those sages. And there's many more.
So the last one is in the beginning that you mentioned how Prabhupada sees Krishnas everywhere, especially in this, you quoted that material, he sees in material energies, that is Krishna's energies too. So I was contemplating that, especially in a neophyte devotee, one is trying to practice this Krishna consciousness. it really helps if one can understand that one thing, that how we can see Krishna everywhere. I know our acharyas have given so many processes like chanting, hearing, but it's not, we are not there yet. Like, we can understand, we can see Krishna, we can experience Krishna through those methods, at least in the beginning stage. So what is something that we can really practice?
Say it slower. What's the question?
What is one thing or something that we are missing that we should practice to cultivate that what Prabhupada is seeing, like Krishna everywhere in all our day-to-day activities?
First deserve, then desire.
Sorry, what is?
You understand?
I did not
Bhakti
hear.
Siddhanta said, and Prabhupada repeated, so I'm repeating. First deserve, then desire. So your question is, how I have a desire. Supposing someone has a desire to see Krishna everywhere, what should they do to do that? And my answer is, first deserve, then desire. So what does deserve mean? Become qualified. What does become qualified mean? Become Ananya Bhakta. If this Manduka Upanishad verse that we were going over so many times, not by this, not by that, not by the other thing, but by when one comes to the stage of undivided devotion, Krishna may reveal himself to that person. Krishna may give the intelligence so you can see Krishna everywhere, even indirectly through his energies. But first deserve, first become Ananya Bhakta. Before the desire, I want to see Krishna everywhere. Become Ananya Bhakta. How can you? So, like the discussion yesterday of serving the master of the senses, Adhoksaja, although he's beyond the senses to perceive, that takes faith. Not blind faith, but it certainly takes faith to serve that which you cannot see with your senses of perception, and your working senses in the mind. And you do all of that, although you cannot see or see with any of the senses. But then, so it's the service platform is not material when it's done properly. And the experience is not material when the practice is done properly. It's by disclosure. Then one can understand, one can perceive, one can experience. So that's first deserve, then desire. You have something? Huh? Just scratching. Okay.
March, the purport about bad association where Narakasura was exposed to Banasura being the son of Krishna. And then I looked up chapter 67 in 10th canto where Dvivida is said to have had bad association with Narakasura, and therefore Dvivida, who was an associate of Lord Ramachandra, became bad and was killed by
Balaram.
So if I understand this right, Banasura is the root of the bad association to Narakasura, Narakasura to Dvivida, and both Narakasura and Dvivida, son of Krishna and associate Lord Ramchandra, both were killed, and Banasura was not.
But being killed means they were liberated, please. They were freed from all of their sins and given liberation.
Yeah.
Banasura wasn't so fortunate.
So Maharaj, two questions based on the purport to chapter 67, speaking about the association between Narakasura and Dvivida. Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur both are commenting that the bad association was the reaction for an offense Dvivida had committed when being proud of his strength, he disrespected Lord Ramachandra's brother Lakshmana and others. So the two-part question is, I don't know the pastime of what Dvivida did.
I don't either.
And the second part question is it true that not all bad association is due to offense, but only some kind of bad association due to offense? Or is it all kind of bad association we're exposed to is due to offense?
One can make foolish choices without offense. If one makes offense, one's just going to make foolish choices. But foolish choices can be made without that impetus, prior impetus. But your point, it's a nice question. It's a very nice topic. Very nice topic. I'm already meditating on Memorial Day weekend. And what topics I'm going to speak about, this might be a nice topic. Next, you have something else? Anyone else? Premananda? Online.
This is from Amara Mataji.
Speak slowly.
This is from Amara Mataji. In sadhana stage, how does steadiness in bhakti to Krishna manifest?
In sadhana stage, how does steadiness in bhakti
To Krishna manifest internally and externally.
just be a proper, how does it manifest? Manifest from the heart and properly following, both externally, but the externally will be steady if the internally, so the internally is what's the most important, and it drives the externally. They're both important, but the internal absorption is more important. What does it look like? What does internal absorption look like? Well, you might want to read and review this nice discussion that we had on Raghunath Das Goswami's writing on internal absorption. And he describes it. And different persons are going to be internally absorbed than other different persons, but there's principles. So how does it look like depends upon the person. But the principles are the principle of the 6 limbs of surrender, for example. Those are anukolyasya sankalpa, so pratikolyasya varjanam, etc. So and what does it look like depends upon the person. That's the external, and even the internal. How one feels and how another feels on those 6, but the 6 principles are the pillars. It's going to look a little differently according to one's relationship, one's spiritual relationship with the personality. You've got it. That's how it's going to look like. So study the 6 principles of surrender. And study, again, Manashiksha, because Raghunath Das Goswami is disclosing it. Something else?
This is from Vrindavan Prabhu.
Mhm.
Vrindavan Prabhu. Vrindavan Prabhu.
Oh, he said like it was 1 syllable.
Sorry. How to understand Banasura as the son of Bali Maharaj? They are apparently in different yugas.
No. How can you say different yugas? How can it be the sun in a different yuga? I don't understand the question. He's not the sun in a different yuga.
Bali Maharaj is in Satya Yuga. So then who is Usha?
Oh. These are college student questions. I mean, they're like,
Why are you having that discussion after the Sunday noon program? Segment 1 to 7, that very question.
you and he?
There was a number of us trying to contemplate this question, and we didn't have an answer. So he's asking.
Did you do any further research since that discussion? No. I don't have an answer. And I'm happy. I'm not disturbed. I hope you're not disturbed. I don't have an answer. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.